Hey, this is John Marucci. We're going to today talk about storing your R-Pod. So we got a top 10 tips list here for storing your R-Pod. We've already winterized the R-Pod, and now we're going to actually go through some storage tips, and hopefully these are helpful to you. We have 10 tips, so it's going to be really pretty thorough, and hopefully some of these ideas you can incorporate as we go through these. So thank you for joining, and here we go. Okay, so the first tip in storing your R-Pod is to fix up. So when we mean fix up, we're talking about fixing any little things that need to be touched up before you put it into storage. For us, we had an issue with the shower surround in the bathroom that was bubbling out, so we got some double-sided tape and retaped it down and caulked it and got that fixed before we put it into storage. That's the first tip. This is also important to look around the R-Pod inside before you store it to just see if there's any little things that you need to do inside to fix it up. Okay. Tip number 2 is to clean up. So what I mean by that is cleaning up very thoroughly inside with a vacuum and maybe brush it out to make sure that there's no dust and especially no food debris anywhere in the R-Pod. It's especially important so it isn't attractive to any kind of critters. So make sure you clean up. One of the things we also did to clean up was also cleaned up it outside thoroughly. So we did a very good wash of the R-Pod and did a thorough wax of the R-Pod too. The top roof and the sides to wax it really well so that as it's going through the winter months sitting, it can endure the elements a little bit better. And that's tip number 2, is to clean it up. The third tip is to lube up. So what we're talking about in lubing up is to get some silicone spray or WD-40, whatever you like to use. I like using the WD-40 silicone spray. And we lube up all of the jack stands and all of the locks and hinges outside and inside on the R-Pod to make sure that they're lubed up for the winter. Number 4 is to seal up. So we got some sealant and made sure we went up and looked at the roof on a ladder to see if it needed to be sealed anywhere, as well as the joints in the body to make sure that all the silicone seal was still strong, and if not, to patch them up to make sure you seal them properly for the winter months. Number 5 is to air up. So one of the things we did was took the R-Pod up before we stored it, took it up to Costco. We have a local Costco in town here, and they will put nitrogen in your tires and top your tires off for free. So that's a nice service to be able to take advantage of if you have a local Costco, to go up there and get nitrogen. If you want to keep nitrogen in your tires, obviously if you're keeping air in your tires, you may be able to do that yourself if you have a compressor or at the local station, gas station. Number 6 is to odor up. This is important too, because what you want to do is bring in things like bounce softener pads or Irish Spring soap, and some of the rodent deterrent type products. We have a specific type we got from Amazon, and those rodent deterrents, are supposed to make the R-Pod, smell in a way that the rodents don't like. Now, there's no guarantee that they're going to keep rodents out, but it's at least doing something to preventative measure to keep the R-Pod from smelling sweet to the rodents. And then, so that's number 6, to odor up. And that's important to understand that, when we're talking about like rodent control, these are just some things you can do and people recommend, and we're trying to employ a few different things there. Now, one of the things about, odoring up, and while we're talking about rodents a little bit, is that, I don't think there's any real guarantee that you can fully keep rodents out of your R-Pod, but you can do things like this that will help. We're storing in a public location on asphalt. So there's several other travel trailers around us as well, and we're on asphalt, we're not on grass, so grass isn't going to grow under it. I think rodents are a little less likely to walk out in full view because of predators when something's on asphalt. So if you have your R-Pod stored on in high grass or back in a barn, you might just want to check it a little more often to make sure that you don't have a rodent problem. So number 6 again was to odor up. So if you can use odor things, you can do that. It will help a lot. Number 7 we do specifically is to lean up. So what I mean by that is actually lean the R-Pod a little backwards so the water or melted snow doesn't just sit on top of the roof during the winter or around the air conditioning duct or the fan vent. So we lean it back a little bit so that the water actually rolls off, not too much, but just a little bit so it's not fully level, and the roof is fairly flat, so it's possible that water could sit there for a while. Number 8 obviously is lock up. Now, just to say something about locks, we do put a lock on the tongue. We actually have 2 locks, a padlock and a little tongue lock. Now, just to say something about locks, they're not fully preventative. I mean, if someone really wants to work hard at breaking these locks, they probably can. But it is somewhat preventative in that you have something on there that doesn't make it look too easy or too inviting. And there's various kinds of locks you can look into on Amazon, and fairly highly recommended things if you're interested in securing your unit. We also obviously lock the doors and windows, right? But make sure you lock up. That's number 8. Number 9 is check up. So what we're going to try and do here is regularly stop by, probably at least once a month during the winter months while it's in storage, and take a look and see, look inside, make sure we don't have any activity inside, look outside, make sure the unit's looking good. And finally, especially here in Michigan and some of your northern climes, is to brush up. And what I mean by that is you come by after a big snow and with a brush and a good ladder and make sure you brush heavy snow off the roof. So sometimes we can have 18, 20 inches of snow that'll be sitting on top of the R-Pod, so we want to get that off fairly quickly so it doesn't put any extra strain or stress. So there's the top 10. We'll go up and wrap up in just a second. Okay, and to wrap up the top 10 tips for storing your R-Pod, number 1 was to fix up. Make sure to fix up anything that doesn't look right, things that needs maintenance. Number 2 is to clean up inside and out really well, wax it, and make sure that you have no food crumbs or anything lying around for the winter. Number 3 is to lube up. I like using the silicone spray, lube up all your locks and hinges and your jack stands. Number 4 was to seal up. Use the sealant to seal up wherever the seal's broken, either the silicone or on top of the roof. Number 5 is to air up. Remember, you can go to Costco and get nitrogen in your tires, top off your tires before the winter. Number 6 was to odor up. Put things like bounce pads and Irish Spring soap and the rodent repellent stuff in the unit to make it smell pretty bad for rodents. Number 7 is to lean up. We like to lean the R-Pod back a little so water doesn't sit on top of the roof if it's level. Number 8 is to lock up. We use locks on the tongue, and make sure you lock up the doors and the storage and the windows. And number 9 is to check up. In other words, come back every so often during the winter and off months to look at it, make sure it's doing okay. And number 10 is to brush up. If we have a big snow, we want to come back with a brush and a ladder and get the heavy snow off the roof. So those are the top 10 things. Hopefully this was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Again, this is John Marucci. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully this was helpful to you, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.